Passenger side, if you don't tighten it all the way, you can loosen it up, rotate that out of the way, and you'll have access to the holes for the lower links. Hey guys, welcome back to Revolution XRC. Today we're going to do some updates to this Axial Capra that I've been running for a while. I actually haven't changed anything on this since I've first built it, or since the last upgrades I did probably over a year ago. But recently I ran it at Proline to Fire, and there were a few limitations that I ran into on some of the lines. Overall, it still crawls really well, but there are, updates that you can do to make it perform even better now. So we all know that the four-wheel steering version of the Axial Capra came out this year. That's definitely a nice upgrade, and I probably plan to do that in the future to this Axial Capra. But for right now, we'll stick to the front steer, but there are a few things that I can do right now before I go with four-wheel steer. So at Proline by the Fire, for the most part, it did really, really well. But there were a few spots where I needed to kind of get over an edge, and the biggest limiting factor to that was the belly here. So this belly kind of prevented me from having the front grab and pull the rest of the rig over an edge, and it pretty much got high centered like right around this area. If I were able to do that, I would have made a really incredible line, but that's one of the things I want to address. And the other thing I want to address, while the Hobbywing Axe system is really, really good and it worked really well in this, I kind of want to clean up the inside a little bit and kind of get rid of this ESC sitting at the back here. So I will be changing that setup to a Hobbywing Quicrun Fusion. And for the skid, I'm going to be using a Vader Capra skid. Now, if you've guys seen others or even tried it yourself, you won't be able to fit this Hobbywing Quicrun Fusion 1800 kV, the older version, not the newer version, which is shorter. But you won't be able to fit the older version with the stock skid unless you trim some of those link mounts. With this Vader skid, that will not be an issue. So I'll be able to fit this motor ESC setup with this skid, and let's get to it. Now, one of the things I probably will need to upgrade in the future as well are these shocks. But for now, I'm going to stick with the stock shocks. But this rig could definitely use with shorter shocks. It's quite dirty. I got quite a bit of dusting to do, so I'm going to take care of this dusting first. Alright, we've got the cage off. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the axles from the skid, as well as the transmission, and take the ESC out. Alright, here's the stock skid. As you can see here, it does get a lot of contact on the rocks. It's definitely worn down, so it definitely does hang down and hit the rocks quite a bit. Alright, let's break open the Vader skid and see what we get inside. Instructions. Get the link mounts right here. The Delrin flat skid right here. And I'm assuming these are the mounts for the servo. Stick them right there. Now these instructions here say that you can use a full-size shift servo or a low pro shift servo. I'm gonna just stick with the Spectrum not so great servo. I don't use it all that much, but it works okay for now. But anyway, these would be the instructions for that. Alright, let's start by adding these link mounts to the skid. You'll need these two 3x8 countersunk screws. We'll go ahead and attach these link mounts to the skid. Alright, first thing you want to make sure, as far as the skid goes, the Vader logo should be facing up. The countersunk screw holes should be facing the bottom. So go ahead and that. Now on this particular link mount, make sure the countersunk screw holes are facing outwards, and this one should be towards the front. Or is it the back? Yeah, towards the front. So that should be faced towards the front. Let's go ahead and add the M3x8. Alright, for the next part, you'll need to put together the shift servo mount. You'll need the 3D printed parts, and you'll also need one M3x6 countersunk screw, 3 M3x6 button head screws, and also one M3x10 button head screw along with a M3 lock nut. Now before I continue putting that on, you may be wondering, how am I going to get the lower links on with these pieces on? Well, on the passenger side, if you don't tighten it all the way, you can loosen it up, rotate that out of the way, and you'll have access to the holes for the lower links. Alright, first thing I'm going to take care of is the mounting. Now since these are 3D printed parts for these servo mounts, you probably don't want to over tighten them. Just tighten them just enough. Now for this piece right here, usually you would want to attach the link to this link mount right here. This attaches to the same part as the link mount, but for right now we'll just loosely attach it just so we can hold it in place, even though we're not ready to attach the link mounts yet, or the links. And then the upper section sits like this. Oh, upside down. Like that. Go with the countersunk screw first. Once again, do not over tighten to these 3D print parts. You do not want to crack them. Alright, with all that in place, we now have the shift or dig servo plate installed. Of course, this part's not installed yet because that's waiting for a link. But we can go ahead and move on to replacing the Hobbywing Axe in the transmission with the Fusion for now. Alright, I'm going to remove the ESC from the cage as well as the transmission, but I'm going to remove this ESC from the cage off camera and we'll be right back. Okay, I've got the Axe system removed from the cage, so I've got the transmission free. But before I go ahead with that, now that the axles are also free, I'm going to actually add the links to the skid right now. Alright, we've got the lower links installed to the skid. We can go ahead and tighten back up the link mounts. And we can move on to adding the transmission. Turns out this is not a piece I need to move. So I want to work this way, so I don't quite remember everything all the time. So I'm going to get this part back. Didn't need to come off. Now, I absolutely love this axe system. Once again, I'm just changing it to the Fusion just so I can get rid of the big ESC on the back of the cage there. But I definitely will save this for one of my trail rigs, so this will definitely go into one of my other trail rigs. Now, when moving the motor, I noticed that there actually is a good amount of dirt that got in here, so I'm going to clean that up, take it apart, clean it up, grease it, put it back together, and we'll move ahead. Alright, let's add the Hobbywing Fusion. Alright, I'm liking my mesh. I'm going to line the pinion a little bit better. It's actually pretty good already. Let's see if I can get it even more aligned. There. You could probably add a shim on this gear right here to keep it from sliding back and forth. I don't have one on hand though. But that's something that you probably should add if you don't want the gear to slide back and forth like that. I have to print one out. Alright, so let's put this back on the skid and go from there. Alright, the Hobbywing Fusion was added to the transmission, and I'm ready to add the transmission to the skid. Okay, the transmission is now mounted onto the skid. Let's make sure the transmission moves freely. Like it does. We're good there. Right, that's a phase. It's on a phase as well. There we go. Is that adjustable? No. Alright, a little bit of trouble fitting this. I'm going to have to loosen this first. Let me do this off camera because it's kind of hard to get that angle. I need to see the hole, but you just want to secure the dig servo. Alright, the dig servo is mounted on. We're now ready to attach the upper links. So we'll go ahead and do that. Once again, simple tasks are made much harder by having a camera in front of your face. Otherwise, this would be pretty much a piece of cake. Right. Now I'm just gonna figure out the routing for the wiring. and pretty much put the cage back on. Alright, my wiring is done and organized. I'm ready to put this cage back onto the chassis. Let's go ahead and do that. Well, for some odd reason, I decided to put this link on the wrong side. Let's go ahead and fix that. Alright, so with the Fusion, I won't be able to mount this to the second from the top. I'll have to mount it one lower. So it's the second one from the bottom. Now, with the Fusion Pro, it might be a different story because that one's a little shorter. But for the older Fusion, you won't be able to mount it at the second to the top position, just because of clearance issues. And because of that, I'm gonna have to change the other upper link in the rear too as well to match. So let's go ahead and fix this one first. I don't know what I was thinking, but let's go ahead and fix that. Now, the directions do say that if you do mount it lower than this, you should use another screw and another lock nut. So we'll go ahead and take care of this first. Okay, I'm going to secure this top part right here, the lock nut. And then I'm going to have to find another lock nut for the link. Let's take this first. I'm going to use this one next to the bottom for links. Alright, that's secure. Now let me go look in my bag of hardware for another lock nut for this top link mount piece to mount the Dig Servo mount. Right. Okay, now we're ready to put the cage back on. Let us do that and see how we look. Alright, it's not completely a simple slide on like it was originally with the original skid. You're gonna have to stretch it out a bit and kind of get around everything. But it can be done. My drive shaft fell out, so let me go ahead and take care of that. There we go. That is starting to look more like it. I'm just going to loosely secure this for now. Alright, ready to put the shocks back on. Alright, you can see the Vader skid. It's flat. You can see that you get more clearance at the bottom compared to the original one, which would have sat right about there. See if I can get that better look for you there. It would have kind of sat like that, but now you've got that. So definitely a little bit of clearance there, or more clearance there to prevent you from getting high centered. So I'm really digging the lack of a low hanging belly. Really can't wait to get this out on the rocks. So all that's left for me to do is to configure the Hobbywing Fusion and slap on some tires, put in the battery, and take it out for a run. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell for future updates on this Axial Capra. Thanks for watching.